What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and this video I want to talk about why I am getting Lost Records, Bloom, and Rage. The games are starting to pile up, if you can't tell from the other videos on the channel, and but at the same time, okay, all of these games are a little bit different. And even if you just want to talk about length, a lot of the February games are actually quite long. I mean, they range for sure, but they're going to be, 20, 30, 40 hours. There's really one game on my list that's like this, and it's this game, right? So Lost Records comes out the same day as Avowed, comes out I believe 3 days before Like a Dragon, comes out a few weeks after Kingdom Come. I mean, the middle of February is packed, right? Like really packed. But Lost Records I really hope is able to stand out. So obviously a two-part kind of adventure, which I actually have to be honest, I think that's kind of cool. I miss those days. I've been a big supporter of that. I mean, you can go back specifically with Don't Nod since Life is Strange. I mean, Telltale before it for sure, but I like episodic games personally, as long as they're good. I will tell you that. There's kind of two components. Is one, you got to be consistent when you release them. So if it's like a 5-episode thing, they don't have that problem here. And number two, it's obviously got to be good. If the first part two, or the first half in this case, is not good, then there's not a lot of discussion and theories and that kind of just talk you can have online, which can very much help the game. It would actually hurt, in this case. So I'm very much hoping part one is very good, so that it actually enhances the lead up and then part two itself. On top of that, why am I getting it? Well, I think to many people that are interested in this game, there's a couple things that kind of stand out. Obviously, it harkens back to its simpler time, right? A time of Life is Strange. Now, from Don't Nod and from the creators, a lot of the minds of Life is Strange 1 and 2. I'm just really hoping they nail it, right? I mean, you could see so many, whether it's the music, whether it's the characters actually also doing music, whether it's the theme of time, right? This is a game that takes place over basically two timelines, right? But two basically eras, right? And the back and forth that ensues. There's picture taking, if that doesn't scream Max Caulfield at you, right? There's so much about this game that does, relate to Life is Strange and reminds people of it. But I will say this, and I think they've done a good enough job at this so far. It does have to have its own identity, okay? And I do think that's where kind of like having the same characters, and you're going to see them as adults, you're going to see them as teens, and, the decisions you make in one is going to affect the other. Their relationships are going to carry over. I think it's going to have that identity, basically, that it needs, while also, I think, leaning into, like, the right era, right? I mean, whether it's people that were disappointed in Double Exposure, or just, in general, like I said, Don't Nod, they've never done, like, the most perfect job, at these episodic things throughout time. I mean, yeah, I absolutely love Life is Strange. It's one of my favorite games, but, Tell Me Why, Twin Mirror, some of the middling type games, which, I think they were all, like, pretty okay, but they didn't blow anybody away, and they certainly didn't make an impact, on the industry or on a large amount of people. So they've been up and down, and Telltale has been, long removed from their, like, elite status. I think the people that were into those games need a game like this, right? So, I mean, they need a game like this. It doesn't mean this game is necessarily going to fulfill it, right? But in my opinion, everything about this game so far has looked really good, has sounded really good, whether it's the acting, the music, the visuals, the mechanic, right, the themes. I think this game can be extremely special. What they're doing with the choices, like I think, and we've seen a couple small clips. I don't think we've ever seen something like super played out, but even just like how the dialogue kind of naturally evolves and some of the small kind of tweaks that they're doing there feels like an evolution of these games that we love that are now 10, 12, 15 years old, right? This feels like where they would be if you made them here. So I think they're definitely targeting the right group of people. I think they got something unique while also familiar, right? So they can kind of nail both sides there. Coming off of Life is Strange, maybe you can get people from that as well. I mean, a lot of things are hopefully looking up. And then let me just quickly go on a small little rant here. I just really hope this game does good for Don't Nod in general. I mean, I'm a massive Banishers Ghosts of New Eden fan. It was my third favorite game of 2024. I mean, they are not in a great financial state. Okay, so I really hope, and that's not just because you feel bad for a company or you want them to survive does not mean you have to buy every product that they make, but I really am hoping for their success, but they also need to make a good game. Like if Lost Records is really good and then it doesn't sell, to me that's almost more disappointing, than if it was a bad game. So, I'm getting this game, in part, small part, I would say, to support them, but that is there, and then the other part is, it's up my alley. It's definitely a game that I think is for the group of people, like I've said, this entire video, that really loved The Walking Dead and Life is Strange, and even some of their earlier stuff with Twin Mirror and Tell Me Why and games like that. So I'm hoping for the best. And like I said, I just really, if they can do, and I actually think Life is Strange did it as well, as much as everybody fights over that game, the weeks in between chapters 2 and 3 of Life is Strange, like if you did the early access thing, you got to play 1 and 2. I think they dropped that bombshell at the end of 2, and that was sufficient, to get people to get excited and to get talking in between 2 and 3. So I think that's just really important here. We know the game's around 10, 12 hours. Each part then obviously 5, 6 hours. So you got to get us in. You got to tell half the game. That's a pretty good portion of it, but you also have to kind of leave it at a point or a moment where we are going to get really, really excited and almost borderline mad that we have to wait those 2-3 months, till we get part 2. Hopefully they're able to do all those things, and hopefully, we're able to kind of talk about it in between these parts. So I'm excited for it. I'll be getting it day one. I'll be obviously covering it quite a bit on the channel. Let me know what you guys think in the comments if you're getting the game or not. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on, and hope to see you all on the next one.